Last time on Inquisitor, we looked at some of the stereotypes associated with homeless people and had the pleasure of meeting some of London's impoverished.
During Ramadan, did people give you food?
They gave food. There were a lot of Arabic clothes all over the neighbourhood.
What's it like to be hungry? I mean, when you're really hungry, what was it like when somebody reached out?
We have to go without food.
We explored some of the difficulties faced by homeless people and the reasons behind rough sleeping.
You have to go without clothes, you have to go in the bin for clothes where some of the neighbours.
Not good, mate. Look what society's become.
We looked at the public's perception towards the homeless and how the homeless are viewed as invisible people.
Well, yeah, I suppose you're right, like, yeah, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't want to talk to us because they don't know how to approach us, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, they think, oh, I don't know, if I say the wrong thing, like, yeah, he's going to start kicking off or something, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And they're like iRobots. They just come out the station, it's like zoom, zoom, zoom. They don't look left, they don't look right, they're just looking straight ahead on it. They don't see anything.
Today we take a look at a bold step taken by some young Muslims who reached out to the homeless in the name of Imam Hussein. What is the Who is Hussein campaign, and how did a handful of young Muslims succeed in raising over £12,000 for a charity that supports London's homeless? How is the message of Imam Hussein related to the plight of the poor? And most importantly, what can we do to help? This is Inquisitor. Before setting out to explore homelessness, I wanted to get a feel of the various opinions regarding the subject. I felt that people were uncertain of how to approach the homeless front.
A lot of the time I see Christians running soup kitchens and handing out blankets, helping poor people in the streets, but I never see, unfortunately I don't really see
Muslims. Yeah. Well, I think we should be. I guess that people, well, from where I'm from, the Muslims around there, they're a bit old-fashioned, if you know what I mean, so they don't tend to do things like this. So I think our generation, we should be doing stuff like that and helping out.
We can raise awareness around like social networks and stuff, because social networks is really big at the moment. Everyone has smartphones, and people have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So by raising that, people have many followers, and it might be young Muslims or non-Muslims as well. And from that they can raise awareness.
They could make it more aware amongst people, that way they could receive funding from government and other charities in order to be able to actually pay to be able to do something. I don't think we receive a lot of funding. All I just see is like people, sometimes in East London you see them with tables and they'll try and, but that's all I've ever seen, tables, and they're trying to sell things, then they give the money to charity, but it never goes any further than that.
Basically we can download clothes, food. We can even help them like take part of Islamic charities.
Often what we do as a community is create our own organisations and charities, or we send the money to various directions, not knowing how it will be used. Arguably, the best way for donations to have the maximum benefits is for them to be sent to the organisations which know the area best. That's what the Who is Hussein campaign realised, and so they successfully teamed up with St Mungo's, a charity that deals specifically with the homeless in the UK.
Mungo's started over 40 years ago. It began with one person with a van serving soup to people in London who were homeless. And since then, the needs of homeless people has changed in London, and so has St Mungo's, to the point now where we have over 200 different projects, and we help 2,000 people every night to sleep in a room in one of our accommodation projects, as well as thousands more through our skills and employment and training facilities that we have.
Can you tell us why Who's Hussein chose St Mungo's charity to collaborate?
Well, we were kind of thinking of an idea to, we wanted to do something, as we were saying, in London, and one of the biggest issues is homelessness. Now, St Mungo's in particular, why I thought that there would be a worthwhile charity to look into is because rather than the emergency aid, they actually go a step further. So it's more about giving people jobs at the end of it and helping them through that process. And it's the second step. So it's not just about getting them off the streets, but actually seeing them into employment and into housing, which is obviously the most vital thing. So I thought it was a worthwhile charity to look into, and we got in touch with them.
I guess is that a lot of people don't know where to turn to. We are obviously in a situation where local authorities are facing cuts. So although there is an obligation to look after people who do end up being homeless, often people just do fall into sort of administrative traps and aren't able to get the right help they can.
I think when it comes down to it, Islamic morals and humanitarian morals are one and the same. So I wouldn't say that he was either an Islamic person or a humanitarian, because it's exactly the same thing in my opinion. And as I said earlier, the values of helping the homeless and whatever else Islamic, they are one and the same. They're completely intertwined, and we shouldn't separate that at all in any way.
If the message is so potent, then why is it rarely acted upon? There are a few projects which actively try to make a positive change in society, despite the fact that the message of Imam Hussein is taught to us at a very young age. Story time.
One day, Imam Hussein was riding his horse through the streets of Medina. There were some beggars who saw him, and they were so happy to see Imam Hussein that they asked him to come and join them for dinner. Imam Hussein got down from his horse and he sat with them for a little while. But instead of taking the beggars' food, he asked them to come to his house and to have dinner with them. They were all so happy that Imam Hussein was sitting with them, and they were even more happy that he decided to invite them over to his house. So all of them went together and had dinner at Imam Hussein's house.
In order to understand the plight of the poor, it's vital that we make it possible for ourselves to relate to them. Not only did the guys behind the Who is Hussein campaign understand this, but they applied it. So what was the homeless campaign?
Just here on behalf of the Who is Hussein campaign, and this year the Who is Hussein London team have decided to champion homelessness.
And mashallah, we've raised over 10,000 so far, and we're just here trying to push the name of Hussein out in a way that reflects his personality.
So Who's Hussein started last year. There were a couple of guys in London came together, came up with the idea, and basically just kind of went viral from there. There was an advertising campaign on the underground, and I think the website concept is quite simple. It's just trying to firstly obviously ask the question, who is Hussein, and then answering it by telling you about the morals that he stood for, the values, and what kind of a man he was.
A group of people, led by youths in the Shia community, organised a sleep out. For one night, these brave pioneers of spreading the message of Imam Hussein would spend a night on the streets, speaking, eating and sleeping with the homeless population.
In a bit of a cliche, we want all of the wrongs in society to be righted. We want good. We want to see good in everything. We want people to, in essence, we want them to think of Imam Hussein and think of that's a person like Gandhi, that's a person like Martin Luther King that we see as inspirational.
Imam Hussein has, to be honest, is a new figure in my life because I recently, you could say, converted to Shia Islam. Since I have been introduced to Imam Hussein, I feel like I've been introduced to Islam properly.
We live in the UK, we engage with the UK, we've been brought up here, and we want to help other people who live in the UK who are impoverished and often for reasons not of their own.
Imam Hussein has inspired me to look at the world today as if the Ahlul Bayt are still here, and to act in a way that would be that would reflect them. Of course, I'll never reflect Ahlul Bayt, but in a way that would make them, proud to see me as one of their followers.
We can learn from him, and he's inspired us, and he's inspired everyone here today to come out and stand for things like social justice and standing up against oppression and inequality. And that's why we're all here, because this is a cause that we're very passionate about.
Well, when you see that there are homeless people on the streets, you know that the country is not doing enough. I mean, as when we completely get rid of all rough sleepers in the streets of London and cities all across the UK, then we'll know that the country is doing something.
In a year, it's kind of gone a bit global, and we have reps. So I'm the London rep for Who is Hussein. There's a rep in Beirut, in Ottawa, in cities around the world. So it's fantastic to see so many people coming together under one banner and doing things, for one name, and all people are being directed to this one website that has quite a very positive message and presents Hussein as a source of inspiration for everyone, not just for Muslims, not just for Shias, for everyone.
Today we're having a sleep out in the aid of St Mungo's. Alhamdulillah, we've managed to reach over £10,000 for the charity. And the reason why we think about homelessness is because it's such a prevalent problem in society.
Homelessness is a big issue in London and in the UK, so I'm quite keen to raise awareness about that. Also, we've raised £10,000 or over £10,000 for a homeless charity in London, which is fantastic as well. And that's one of the key things, actually bringing about positive change and being able to not just give a homeless person a couple of quid, but actually helping out with the institutions that help homeless people and help to solve the problem of homelessness.
Hussein alayhi salam is the archetype of sacrifice. He's the monument of sacrifice for all communities around the world. His sacrifice was in such a time when he had an easy choice to say, I'll do the easy thing. I'll give allegiance to the leader who was at the time and sacrifice my morals. But I'll preserve my family, I'll preserve my friends, and everyone will be happy. But he said, no, I'll take a stand. I'll make a movement. I'll say no. I won't sign your agreement, but what I'll do is I'll shake up the moral of society. I'll break the fabric, all of the evil that exists in the world. I'll take a stand against it. He made that stand so long ago, 1300 years ago, and yet today we remember him and we take inspiration from his sacrifice. We want to live in a world that he lived in, a world that's inspired by compassion, inspired by integrity. Hussein is that man who lives in our hearts, and he every day speaks to our consciousness, and he says, are you going to make the right choice between what's right or what's easy? And today is one event that we make the choice for what is right and not what is easy.
One trap that we often fall into is assuming that the duty lies with someone else. The message of Imam Hussein teaches us to view every act of injustice, oppression and inequality as though it is our own duty to prevent it. Despite the evident success of the project, there was criticism from the homeless.
I believe events are good like this because it raises awareness, obviously, of our plight and stuff like this. One night to you guys ain't going to make a bloody difference, excuse my French, but it's true. I know it's amazing the way you're doing it and the idea behind it, but one night may give you a flavour for what is actually going on, but it actually doesn't make you realise that the whole extent of when you've done it for, say, 17 years or 20 years, or some people out there who are 65, and been out there for most of their lives, if you know what I mean. St Mungo's and other organisations do their best to work within certain constrictions, but they are just as handcuffed as we are as homeless people with what they can allow, or as far as housing is concerned. And not everybody wants to go into a hostel, not everybody wants to go and be basically housed at all. There's some people out there who will happily spend the rest of their lives on the streets. That's the people that we need to reach the most, and the people that actually we need to help the most, because places like St Mungo's or Centrepoint, they're aimed at people from a certain age and all that kind of thing. Events like this give you the awareness and maybe make you feel the cold, but when it comes down to it, truthfully, like I said, you'll never understand when you go home, if you finally got home when you're homeless, to have your windows open because you need to feel the cold and you can't sleep without it. So it's an acclimatisation thing which happens to homeless people, and it's one of the things which is the most difficult thing to break. and many homeless people fail within their first ever housing. You know, they fail miserably because they're scared of being isolated. They're scared of the non-noises. You know, all of this kind of thing. It's completely crazy.
Yeah, events like this, I think there should be a lot more of them. At the end of the day, although it's very much watered down of what actually happens when you're on the streets, it gives actually somebody an idea of what's actually people out there every day experiencing.
Tonight you guys will spend a night with people. Yeah, most homelessness is isolation. You're on your own and you're not actually, you know, interacting with people. You sleep in a doorway on your own. You have to deal with the effects of drunkards. You have to deal with the effects of violent people, the police, the street wardens, people waking you up at stupid o'clock in the morning just to give you abuse, sometimes to give you money, you know, just, it depends. But either way, it's just different, like from what you're going to experience tonight. Whilst it's amazing that you want to experience it and figure it out, it's nothing going to be like the experience which we do actually experience. You know, what we have to go through, the daily emotions, even just to get a shower is a hard thing.
At the end of the day, though, what I think is important to say is that everyone here has got all their friends with them and they're safe. You know what I mean? They know nothing's going to happen to them. You know, but out there, when somebody's homeless, you are by yourself. You know, you get people going by, half the nightclub's empties, you know what I mean? And they get people, I've had people defecate over me when I've been in my sleeping bag, I've had people kick me in the ribs, in the guts, I've had people put petrol over me, all sorts of things like that. Well, this is not going to happen here, so it's a very much watered down event, but it gives people an idea of what it's actually like to be homeless.
Tomorrow morning, everybody will go home, they'll go and have their shower and they'll go, yes, nice one, we've done really well. But there's ways of hopefully making things work from this point onwards. If people actually start to think about, you know, it's cold, is there a way we can help homeless people other than financially or by putting them into places they don't want to be? Is there another way of interacting with homeless people? Then it's up to you guys to think about it. But I think there's some clues in what I've said about the way in which people do interact, i.e. a bit more respect would be nice because we're all human beings, and just generally, yes, we don't all have the finances to go and buy things which we need in life, and so, you know, those elements, socks and things like that would be great to be, you know, just walk up to somebody one day, give them a pair of socks, see how happy they'll be, you know. So you've got to think about it from that logistical side. Where you go home now at 7 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow you'll wake up and you'll go, all right, I spent the night out, I had a good night out, but imagine a person who's going to walk away from this night now and sleep the night in the doorway on his own. Okay, and that's where I'm at, and that's where I'm at every night, and where my fellow homeless people are at. And that's something which, if you've done it year in, year out, especially, it's the hardest thing you can ever possibly do. So, whilst I agree with what you're doing, there's a certain element of me which goes, I wish it had been 4 nights.
Yeah, well, when people sleep rough, it's a lot of problems come as a result of that, and that's really health, both mental and physical health. So the problems of when people go on the streets are so bad, so it's really important that we try and get people off the streets as early as we can, which is why we're involved in an initiative called No Second Night Out, where we're really trying to get people on their first night to come off the streets.
Without a doubt, it is impossible for us to fully comprehend the suffering of the homeless and the turn of events in each individual's lives which drove them to rough sleeping.
Tonight we're coming here, we're collaborating, we're all going to sleep out, but we knew we were going to sleep out. We knew that we were going to wear 3 layers, we're going to have 3 pairs of socks on, we're going to have our thermals, we've got our hot tea, our food, our company, our sleeping bags. Unfortunately, the reality is, for many people around the world, this is not the case. This situation whereby they have the knowledge and they know that at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning the sleep out finishes, they can go home to a hot shower and a hot bed, is not a reality. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. They have no money in their pocket, they have no bed to sleep on, and I think that really resonated with a lot of people, the concept that actually this is a light at the tunnel for us, but they have no light at the end of their tunnel.
But what was accomplished through the Who is Hussein Sleep Out project was a greater understanding of the plight of the poor. Furthermore, through this project, the Who is Hussein campaign opened up a long shut door between the general public and the message of Imam Hussein, which the Shia community has largely kept to themselves. By opening this door, the Who is Hussein campaign bridged the gap between the general public and the Shia community.
What do you think of the people that are organising these kind of events?
Do you know what? I think they're wonderful people, I really do, because like I said, it's all about education, and that's what they're trying to do, is educate people, you know, because at the end of the day out there, homeless people do experience, I think a lot of the time, it's not so much hatred, it's people are ignorance. So if you can take away that ignorance, and at the end of the day, you know, you're going to get a better reception out there, and hopefully then we can all start fighting homelessness as it should be fought.
Do you have any reflections on the event with Who is Hussein and how it actually went for you?
For us, it was a great event. We for two reasons. Firstly, the money it raised can make a considerable difference to the work that we do, and there's lots of examples of how that money that was raised can help, but also as an awareness raising exercise. And one of the things that I thought went so well about the event was the fact that we had some Mungo's clients down who were able to talk about just how serious an issue that homelessness is, and also the realities of sleeping rough, and how an event like this, as great as it is, doesn't always reflect the realities. But I think everybody there was able to understand, talk to both our clients and other people affected by homelessness, and from that we really got a great understanding for the participants of what the issues are.
I'm here to try and show support to the homeless community. There's about 80 or so volunteers here today that are going to be sleeping rough, but tomorrow they're going to go home and they're going to go back to their warm beds.
The reason I chose to sleep out today and not just fundraise is because I want to learn from the experience. Of course, we are very privileged to be in a huge group. There's a very large number of people here. We're privileged to be surrounded by people, to have hot drinks and food and stock with us.
People here have been sleeping homeless for longer than I've been alive, and it's become so accustomed to them that they completely detach from the community. One thing that really opened my eyes today when I was speaking to one of them was when he said that when you see somebody on the street homeless, they're not necessarily looking for change. They just want someone to come and say hello to them, someone to treat them like a human being and just speak to them.
But I feel like trying to at least go through this one night will help me understand and will kind of break the barriers of what I think rough sleepers are. Because, you know, when I was trying to fundraise as well, most of the people I came across were like, no, they're all alcoholics or drug addicts and so on. They choose this lifestyle, it's a lifestyle choice. So what I wanted to do is come and talk to these people and break those perceptions I have of them, and understand why they are in the situation that they're in.
There is a famous saying of the father of Imam Hussein, Imam Ali alayhi salam, to say that anyone that is not your brother in faith is your brother in humanity. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself says, the most generous person is the one who gives to the one that doesn't expect it. So trying to reap all these morals and these lessons from the tragedy of Karbala, I think, you know, every year that goes past, we can always take something new from the message. And Boris Johnson, the mayor of London, when he came into power, said he's going to eradicate homelessness. Speaking to some of these people today, it's gone up 68%. So, in all honesty, we're not doing enough. As a community, you know, we associate homelessness, poverty, you know, in third world countries. But this is London, one of the most, you know, advanced cities in the most advanced country in the world, and it's happening on our doorstep.
Here in the West, the Shia are not faced with the same tribulations as people in other parts of the world. Nobody is going to try and kill a Shia here if they make it their aim to spread the message of Imam Hussein. It is a universal message of brotherhood, humanity and compassion, which at this time the world craves.
We've had a rise of over 40% of people rough sleeping in London over the last 2 years. So we're now at nearly over 5,000 people are counted as sleeping rough on the streets of London just last year alone. So the situation is really quite dire, which is why the charities like St Mungo's and the services we provide are becoming more and more important, and the support we're getting from organisations such as Who is Hussein is also becoming more important to help us continue.
The link between Imam Hussein and homelessness, I would say, is that Imam Hussein was a person who came from a family who reached out to people and helped people that needed it, whoever needed anything. So we have stories of Imam Ali alayhi salam, for example, how he would go in the middle of the night and give food to people. Now this is obviously Imam Hussein's father. These morals were passed down to him. He was a man who would also do things like this. And so reaching out and helping people was part of his ethos. And I think if he were here today in London, it's a bold statement I would say, but he would have been helping out with charities like this. He would do all that he could to eradicate homelessness in London. And so we're just trying to follow in his footsteps, in his path.
The young brothers and sisters behind the Who is Hussein campaign proved that by organising projects to feed the homeless, give to the needy and promote equality between races and social class, the message of Imam Hussein can live on.
People go to work every day past these people and don't even bat an eyelid. It's become so accustomed to seeing these people on the floor in a sleeping bag and not doing anything about it. We need to raise more awareness about these people. We need to try and reach out to these people, and we need to give them before they even have to ask. They shouldn't be there with a cup or with a hat or playing an instrument trying to look for money. We should be giving them money before they even think about asking us.
This Ramadan, make it your mission to spread this message by any means necessary. By trying to understand the complexities of the homeless, the Who is Hussein campaign managed to break the mold of mundane ways of thinking about Imam Hussein. They proved that through dedication, determination and teamwork, they could revitalise the religion and share the message of peace and justice with the world.
Since the event, alhamdulillah, we've had a lot of interest. A lot of people have come forward and said they want to get involved and do things. So we've got a team together working in the London area, and we're looking for projects, potentially working with organisations like St Mungo's, potentially them again. But there are other organisations we're in touch with, and we're looking for sustainable projects. That it's not just when Muharram comes about, we get all active and excited and we do things for Imam Hussein. We want something sustainable throughout the year, because that's his message. That's what we want to continue to live by.
The question is, what will you do?